Pastor Gregory T. Manning. I am the pastor of Broadmoor Community Church and one of the co-moderators for Justice and Beyond, along with co-moderator Sylvia McKenzie and our youth co-moderator Trevor David Bryan. We are very glad that you're here, and I welcome you on behalf of all the pillars of Justice and Beyond and the co-moderators. We're going to begin tonight, as our schedule will be, at an opening prayer, as is part of our program that we always do. Then we will continue with some opening remarks just to let folks know who we are as Justice and Beyond. Then we'll continue with our forum and our guest speakers for tonight around this issue of youth prisons and policies that have to do with youth prisons and what policies we may need to act upon to make sure that there is justice and equity within that system as best we can. And then we'll talk about some actions that we want to take. Then we'll have some closing announcements at around 6:30. So with that said, we're going to begin with a word of prayer. It is a beautiful day outside. In my faith tradition, we say, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And it is my prayer that you found an opportunity to rejoice in something on today. I don't know what happened on your day. A lot of good might have happened, a lot of bad might have happened, but I pray that you would find some place to find some joy in the fact that you were in this day and saw something good. So that's my specific prayer. And let's pray that now. Almighty God, creator of both heaven and earth, giver of all the source of life that we need, everything that gives and sustains life, you give it to us, oh God. God, I thank you for the lifeblood that's running through our bodies. God, we are grateful for the strength that you gave us for today. God, for some of us on this call, it was hard to get up. For some of us on this call, that they're dealing with grieving. For some that are dealing with sickness, oh God. But God, you gave them the strength to get up out of bed this morning. And so God, we thank you. God, I thank you, Lord God, that every day is a new day. And in that day that we find there is a possibility that the situation that we're in can turn around. So God, I just now pray for everyone on this call tonight that is dealing with a difficult moment in their life. That God, that if they didn't find joy on today, that they will find it on tomorrow. And that, oh God, that you would supply each and every last one of their needs, God, and that you would strengthen them for the journey that they have on tomorrow, and that they would know that their life is valued, and so are they. So God, now direct us during the course of this forum together tonight. I thank you for those who have joined us. And God, give us wisdom and understanding and ears that listen, and a heart and a spirit that desires to take what we have learned and to seek whatever change we need to have. I ask this in the name of Almighty God and my Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. All right, everybody, as just a few words about Justice and Beyond. So Justice and Beyond is a coalition of many different organizations that have come together to amplify the voices of brown and Black people and issues that we're dealing with, and especially in this city, that demonstrate unjust systems and areas in which we need to dismantle systemic racism as best that we can. And so we seek to do that on calls like these as we get educated and move wherever we need to move in terms of shifting policy and changing policy. And so we've been around, as I said, about 9 years now. We are governed by our pillars. Pillars are organizations that have the blessing and the consent of their organization that they're representing to help be a part of the vision casting and the planning and the management of this coalition. The truth is we need more pillars. I just had somebody come up to me yesterday at a gathering that we had at Congo Square saying that they want to be a pillar. I was glad because this brother is a young African-American brother, and we need more Black folks and allies themselves to come alongside and be part of Justice and Beyond, so that we can continue this work and build capacity. As we gather together on this call on tonight, we always operate within the frame of respect, peace, and love as we conduct ourselves and govern ourselves. So if you want to be a pillar, please notify Brooke Randolph or Elizabeth Soychak, who's on this call. I don't know if they're both on this call. I knew Brooke is because I heard her voice. I believe Elizabeth is too. One of our other pillars, Ernest Johnson, Arissa Aaron, Richard Saxer, Valerie Jefferson, Sylvia. Let them know that you want to become a pillar. We could use you. The commitment is to be at our meetings on Tuesday. That is our pillar meeting. And to just lend a hand wherever you can. Do as much or as little as you're comfortable doing, but we need you. With that said, we're going to go forward with our meeting on tonight. Let me just ask this, see if all of our guests are here for this important discussion. Mr. Travis, are you here? Mr. Antonio Travis?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, my brother, glad that you're here. Hesna, are you here? Okay. Not seeing Hesna. Am I saying that correctly? Anybody know? All right. Cassidy, are you here? All right. Cassidy, I'll say it again. Are you here? All right. For those who are behind the scenes operating with Justice and Beyond, if you could contact those two, or if I'm just missing their presence, maybe they're here and I just they're on mute or something else, let me know. Ernest, are you there? Ernest Johnson? Okay. Ernest is on mute, but he's in an office.
Yes, I'm following
okay.
up. I'm following up.
I heard you through the walls, but okay, good. Thank you. I appreciate that. We're going to continue then with Brother Antonio Travis. We're glad that you're here. We hope to get the others on this call so they can participate. But if you would, my brother, tell us about the work that you do, your organization, and just give us a little background. You've been here at Justice and Beyond, and we're glad to have you always speak from a place of experience and expertise. So tell us more about your work and how others can collaborate with you or partner with you in any work that you're doing.
Appreciate you, Pastor. Yeah, so, again, my name is Antonio Travis. I'm a 29-year-old native, born and raised in New Orleans, 7th Ward, St. Bernard. Black Men Rising movement. Me and a couple of guys I went to high school with. A fun fact people don't know, this mentorship program is stemmed from lived experiences, but it also stemmed out of the charter school movement as well. I think navigating life as a Black man was one thing, but then to go to school and have all of those have all of those feelings you feel amplified by not being seen or heard, definitely took a toll on me personally. Navigating through the charter school system or whatnot. And so Black Men Rising movement, a long story short, it's a healing centered mentorship program. It's grounded in healing. Our program is called The Village, where we take young Black men ages 13 through 18 through our leadership curriculum to help develop them emotionally, socially, and help develop their leadership so that they can sit at tables where people make decisions about them and they can sit at tables authentically. What I've noticed was in order to be a part of a mentorship program growing up, you either had to have gotten in trouble, or it's some type of vetting process where like you can't be your authentic self. And so I wanted to eliminate those two things. I wanted to, be a program that's for, my community, and no matter what walk of life you came from, you would be able to be a part of it. So Yeah, we take young black men and we take them through this curriculum where we sit down, we heal, we talk about trauma and emotions and what's going on in the community and stuff like that. And you know, we uncondition and unlearn some things that we may have learned in the community to survive, so that we could be better leaders. And so you know, we've been doing that work since 2016. We've had our program in different schools and stuff. You know, we just out here just we're doing what we feel is necessary in order to take care of the young folks in our community, you know. So we don't look for a pat on the back or nothing like that. We just know it's necessary, and we knew it was necessary for us to do it young. We didn't want to wait until, you know, no knock to, you know, people, you do it when you can do it. We didn't want to wait until we were like on the other side of life to say, all right, it's time to give back. We knew it was essential. We knew it was important. We knew we knew we had to start, we had to get into this work young. We know it's a generational gap. We wanted to eliminate that. We wanted them to see us and know that, and let the young folks know we come from where they come from. So we've been, like I said, we've been doing that since 2016. We've been a part of different campaigns. Again, the mentorship work is important because we are the full support, full advocates for these young men, but it's also important to help develop them so that we can go organize and fight against the systems that are oppressing us. So it's a hand-in-hand thing, right? We develop the leaders to go take over the tables. And so that's what we've been doing. That's what we continue to do. And yeah, you know, so that's pretty much.
I appreciate that introduction, my brother. Appreciate that introduction. As and I'll come back to you because just I some questions, and then we'll get the questions later on. But one thing that just a real quick question about your program. If we know young men that could use your program, I mean, I'm sure all of them could, but if we want to get some young men in your program, how do we do that?
I make sure I leave my contact information, our email address, and everything down. You know, formally on paper, we say like ages 13 through 18, but for full transparency, we turn away no young men. Old, like, we have a place for everybody in the village. So I can leave my contact information down, and so if people need, you know, are trying to get some folks to us, we more than happy to have them, you know, to support them like we've been doing.
All right, and you have there's a certain number you have capacity for?
Yeah, well, so we are in the process of building capacity. We, like, honestly, we didn't have capacity before to take on a lot of kids due to, you know, just you know, life stuff. You know, like when you don't have the resources to do the work, you have to go and do other stuff. You know, and that other stuff takes you from the work. So we're in the process of building capacity so that we could give 110% to the work. So right now, I would say it would be a good time as we continue to develop and prepare to start running our program again.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Antonio. We really appreciate you being here tonight and the work that you do. And I believe all of us on this call need to identify young men to be a part of this phenomenal program. And then, you know, we need to do the work to get you greater funding to increase capacity as well too. So what's the number of men that you have working with you, either on staff or just in general?
I would say like just offhand, I have about like 4 other guys who you know, who, even though they're doing other things, are committed to the movement and would give their time to you know, to see the process through. And that's without resources. So like if I had, you know, what we needed, I'll have more than that. But just without resources, doing everything else, I have like 4 other people on hand who I could call to like show up at different things, you know, pick up some slack where needed.
All right. So you're also looking for volunteers that want to work with you as young as adult male leaders too.
Sure.
All right. Good. Hensa, are you on?
Yes, Hesna.
All right. Would you please introduce yourself to everyone on the call tonight? First of all, welcome to Just Let Me Out. We're glad that you're here. Please just take some time to just tell us, introduce yourself so we get to know you a little bit better as we go through the questions tonight.
Sure. So nice to meet everyone. I am the coalition manager for our Louisiana Hoop Harvesting Opportunities Outside of Prison Coalition. So I've been with the coalition now for about 4 months. I'm coming to you all from Maryland. Um, what we did most recently, also with Black Wind Rising, is actually get to meet a government official yesterday in St. Mary Parish. So we're doing different outreach around the state to be able to connect with people and understand how we can support youth that are incarcerated, but also when they get out, and also people that are their allies that want to be able to provide them with opportunities, right? So we understand that in a world without prisons, we bring compassion, we bring opportunities, and we don't bring judgment. So, a big part of what we're doing right now is trying to build with people around the state to figure out how we can not only not just try to improve conditions in these places, but also create space for different alternatives so that youth don't have to be sent to jails. So, definitely open to any conversation and wanting to connect with people that aren't just based in New Orleans and how we can address different injustices for youth. Thank you.
All right, very good. Thank you for being with us tonight. We're very grateful that you're taking the time. Pronounce your first and last name for me, please.
Hesna Bokum.
Hesna Volcom.
Yes.
All right, thank you. Hesna. So glad that you're here. And our last guest, Cassidy, are you here?
Cassidy's going to be joining us around 6. So
Okay.
they're getting off of work.
Okay, very good. All right, we'll look forward to them
One of our
coming.
youth.
Okay, great, fantastic. All right, Antonio, I'm going to toss this first question to you. First of all, I just want to pick up on this because you said it earlier. You talked about navigating through the charter school system. What made that a challenge for you, and where do you stand with the charter school system as a whole because of your experience?
Yeah. Well, so my experience with the charter school system, again, was like kind of fed into the origin stories of Black Men Rising. It just was the charter school. First of all, charter school I went to, just did a good job of implementing punitive practices inside our schools, especially like, at that time, in 2007, 2008, like after Katrina and stuff, kids with a lot of trauma, just not having counselors in schools, more cops than they had counselors, and that type of stuff. And I think for me, I realized more and more as I navigated high school, how much I needed support, right? Like just how much I needed somebody to see me. And those 4 years, I wasn't seen, right? Like I was just like, passed along. And it is so many stories, like, the standardized test, just everything, like it was just so much stuff packaged into one. And going through those 4 years, it kind of done something not only to myself but to my brothers psychologically, as we dealt with the system. But just the charter school system in whole, what I know just from my personal experience is that accountability is like that, it's extremely hard to hold the charter school system accountable. And I know this because as I talk about the charter school I went to, if you went back and looked at it, you would see that 100% of the first graduating class, when I was the first graduating class in my charter school, we all graduated. It was 100%, and it was an all boys charter school. And so you have the school that graduated 100%, everybody, all Black males, blazers and ties, like the whole shebang bang, everything, to make it look good. And you would say, well, that it works. The system works. They're taking impoverished kids and they graduate them. But I was social, and I always says I was socially promoted, and I got help on my standardized test so that I could get to college. Which the goal is to get us into college. But I think, no, I don't know if it's data that follows like students after college, or like checks to see how long students stay in college, because we, like most of the kids who graduated in their first graduating class, dropped out. I think we may have had we graduated like 80 kids, and I would say probably like 5 or 6 finished, and over 70% dropped out within the first 2 years, including myself. So just looking at the chart, I know just from experience how things can be manipulated, right? Like how things can be put out there, and like how numbers can be manipulated to make it seem like something's working when it's not. And I've been on the inside of it. So I played the game. I know what it's like. I know what it looks like. And I even been in charter school right now. Like, you know, I work at a charter school that's 100% restorative. No suspensions, no stats, 100% restorative. And so just knowing how charter schools can be and the power that they hold, like to me, I just don't know, like, and not having community input, I just don't know how that can really be of service to the community, right? Like I just think we have to take we just have to take what they say. Like they can say anything, and you know they control everything. So to me, it don't work. It haven't worked, and it has been manipulative over the years. But you have to know what to look for.
All right. So what charter school do you work for?
I work at Living Schools NOLA.
Okay. Okay. So it sounds like they aren't all bad. You wouldn't put them all in that basket, but there's certainly more oversight that needs to happen in order to prevent the situation that you were in, where students get passed on for the sake of the charter school retaining its charter and being able to do what it does.
Right. Right. Yeah. Like definitely needs more oversight, not the board that they appoint. Like we like, again, the community is the oversight that's needed. That's the ingredient that's missing, right? Like the school I work at has a board appointed, like it's parents, you know, like, so they have democratic process. Like, so like, if you know, like, it's just, again, you know, the system did work, and they, you know, like you said, they need more oversight. They need the community, basically.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that answer. Appreciate that. We always looking to see how we can engage our school system and hold them accountable for what they're doing to our children and the responsibility that they have. So thank you for that. It gives us all on this call more insight. Hester, let me ask you the next question. I want you to present and tell us more about, is it LA Hoop, or do you say La Hoop? The coalition.
Honestly, people say both.
Okay. All right. I like La Hoop, so I'll say La Hoop. But I want you to tell us about it, with the mindset that there's people on this call that know absolutely nothing about it. So give us as much information about it as possible, if you could.
Sure. So the campaign started last year, and it was called No More Kids in Prison campaign, right? So this is something that's a national initiative that's in about 14 different states, about focusing on alternatives to youth incarceration, right? And that looks different in different states. So that's one thing that we're connected to. And the point of the coalition is to be youth led, right? And the major goal is to close the youth jails in the rest of the state. And when you say that, the biggest thing is, well, what do you want instead? Or usually you're thinking of, well, these are certain people or these are certain youth that should be in these jails compared to other ones. And our answer is, what does it look like for a world where we have to give them different opportunities and different resources to be rehabilitated in our community compared to having to send them somewhere else, right? So that's the mindset that we're thinking of. And even hearing Antonio speak to what it's like at that school, saying that they're 100% restorative, that's a community where you're making sure that every student there is staying there, right? And you're going to stick with them through whatever their worst day looks like. And we're thinking in that mindset too, and also thinking about it statewide. So that's the point of the coalition. We have a lot of, I'm sorry, I'll try to speak louder. We have a lot more members based in just New Orleans and East Baton Rouge, but also want to be focused where all of these facilities are, right? So that's in Lake Charles, that's in Monroe, that's outside Lafayette. So really wanting to have this statewide focus. And our major demands right now have to do with stopping any new construction or any new opening of jails, right? So we found out just last year that they opened a secret youth jail at Acadiana Center for Youth in St. Martinsville, right? So always learning after something has already happened and really wanting to understand why we don't have more alternatives for youth, because it seems like no matter what they do, especially in parishes that are outside of New Orleans, the first answer is incarceration. There's no other options compared to what exists here. So I hope that's a little intro, at least into how we see the answer to a lot of the crimes that we see, or a lot of these different things of youth acting out, and what we see as the first option compared to a whole different conversation and mindset about what we can do to keep youth in our community and support them.
Right, very good. Keep youth in our community, because if they're extracted from our community, then they certainly don't stand a chance to be a productive member of the community, and just be we underestimate or we downplay the value that they are to our community and their families, and it's just an unhealthy situation. So thank you for bringing that to light. I want to encourage all of our participants. There are some things too that I'm sure you have questions about. The secret youth jail that was opened up, and what that process looks like or should look like and didn't look like in Martinsville. So we'll get more about that, but you all please can formulate in your mind, all of our participants, any questions that you might have. Antonio, I want to go back to you for a minute. In terms of you gather with Black male youth often, and many of us don't have that opportunity, or some of us don't have that opportunity, rather, I'll say. But as you gather with them and you dialogue and conversate with these young Black men, what are their concerns about the of violence that is going on in our community? And, you know, I'm sure there's maybe very much different from what we're dealing with, so, or what we would think it is. So can you enlighten us about that?
Yeah. When I'm having conversations with the young men about what's going on in the community, when I hear from them, most of their frustration comes from the fact that people are willing to sit down and have a real honest conversation about what's going on. And so when we talk about like what's going on in the community, like they are very frank, they're very like honest about why it's happening. And so you know, like I actually in the village I had last week, we kind of talked about it, and they were talking about just having more opportunities to make some real money, you know, more things to engage them. You know, like the lack of engagement is crazy. I can't tell you how many times I didn't heard the young brothers say, like, man, look, I'm bored. I was bored. I'm broke. It's like it's so like when they break it down, they're so honest and transparent. Like they don't have a long drawn out explanation for why things are happening. They're very like short and concise. They're broke and they're bored. There's not enough to engage them, and there's not enough opportunities around them, and that's why we see what we're seeing. And so, you know, when we talk about making investments in young people, like we know what that looks. We know we need more community programs. We know we need different things in our community. We continue to fail, and so when we fail, this is the result of us failing. You know, these different things happening. So, you know, every time, and you know, again, every time I talk to them, it's usually the same. You know, same old. We need more. They saying we need more. We need more stuff.
Mm. And you know, I was going to follow it up with a question to say, are those who make policy, are those who are sitting at the table that can do something about it, hearing that echo of broke and bored? But then I said to myself, I'm not going to ask that question, because the system is working exactly how those who are in power want the system to work. That is to say, let's keep them broke and bored so that we can funnel them into the industrial prison complex to serve our needs. So it's just almost an intentionality that, yeah, we hear it, and that's exactly why we're doing what we're doing. We will make sure that they have no money. We'll make sure that they do illegal activity to get that money. and we'll make sure that they have no programs, and that the programs aren't funded, so that they will continue to have nothing to do. So obviously the folk, do you feel that the folk who are in positions of power are just, they're not hearing what you hear, or just complicit in allowing the system to work exactly as it is designed to do?
Yeah, I think it's I think it's both. I think, you know, I might even go further and say they choose not to hear, you know, what the people are saying. People have been saying this way before me, you know, like this conversation has always, like, it always has been happening. People have always been articulating what the needs are and what we need in our community, and it falls on deaf ears. You know, there's no urgency behind it, nothing like that. The message that the young black men, well, the message that our community get is that we're not, like, we're an afterthought, and we could care less. You know, it's only when the crimes start to rise that people start to pay attention, and everybody won't come to the table and try to, you know, figure out solutions for these young folks, because they're so out of control. But nobody wants to do the proactive work. So yeah, like I would say it's both. They choose what's being said.
And it tells me, you saying that tells me that if we are on this call and we are concerned and we have the opportunity to present one voice, one sound, one articulate message that is echoed, for us to continue to say the same thing that Antonio is saying tonight. Youth are broke. We're hearing from them that they're broken, that they're bored. If you really want to do something about the problem, then let's make them unbroke, and let's make them unboard. If you're really serious. And so echo that, continue to say that, make that known, amplify what Antonio just said. Correct, Antonio?
Absolutely. I always say it's a process before they start jumping in cars. These same people, these same kids in New Orleans East, where I live at, I say this on every car every time we talk about crime and stuff. They outside Walgreens, they outside gas stations. They trying to wipe your windshields. They trying to clean out your car. They might even try to sell fake tip tags. But the thing is, they're trying to do things. I've had kids come try to sell me canned goods. Like, it's a process, and that's what I'm saying. They tap dance, whatever. It's a process before they start jumping in your cars. We want to say something when they jump in the cars, but we ignore that. We ignore that process to get there.
Real quick, Antonio, and you know, I'm just thinking about this, but the term youth can be a very broad term. When we say youth, what age group do you think we're talking about?
We're really talking because it's crazy because the young folks, the ages are, they get younger and younger, but for the most part, we're really talking like, I would say 13 through 18, but we could go a little younger than that, and we actually can go a little older than that. We actually can go up to like 20, 21. I would go older, but I would say if we wanted to just keep it concise, I would say anywhere from 11 to 21. I would consider youth. You know, the brain don't start developing until you're 25. So right. You know, it may be different for other people, but yeah. I would say, yeah, I would say, yeah, anywhere in that range. You can go lower or whatever, but
right. I got you. Yeah, might want to even just say 11 to 25. If we really want to make sure that we target it, and then grant funding needs to be increased in terms of who they're giving it to. If we approach it at the 11 to 25 age range, but we can discuss that too further. Hesna, I have a question for you. Tell us about where the youth, young ladies are held in the state prisons. Where are they held?
Yeah, so to my understanding, that's at the Ware Center for Girls. And forgive me for my pronunciation, but I think it's in Coushatta. Don't know how to say it. That parish. And I'm not sure of the exact number right now, but to our most recent numbers, I don't believe there's any facility that has more than 50 youth that are incarcerated there. So that's my idea of what those numbers look like. We're trying to figure out in the coalition right now. Oh, were you gonna say something?
No, go ahead.
Oh, we're trying to figure out right now, research wise, some things about their board of directors, because that's one of the only current private contract to our knowledge of these youth jails, besides the secret one that we said open, which is Acadiana Center for Youth in St. Martinsville, where they actually have a contract right now with that local sheriff's office. So trying to figure out some research things to understand how we can figure out different stakeholders and where they're at, and definitely needing to do more outreach to figure out, what do the economies of these towns look like, because if they're only low paying jobs and this is the highest paying one, we understand why people are here, right? And that's a
Absolutely.
larger conversation.
Yes, yes. You said 50 in that one facility, right?
Yes, I'm saying to my knowledge, none of the facilities have more than 50, and this is
Okay.
like numbers from February.
And so all told, how many incarcerated young ladies do you think there are at this time?
I would definitely say less than 100.
Okay, okay. And because that's important too, because we need to understand real numbers, that the numbers that the media seems to imply are not the actual is not actual capturing of what really is going on. Would you agree with that? Yeah. Anything else you want to say about that?
I would say that media definitely doesn't capture the story of, in different states, it would be considered illegal to say these youths' full names and ages and say what happened and what they did. But here, you can just say hearsay of what maybe police had said, or not verify sources and say sources say these were the 4 kids that did this and did that. And how does that impact them in the future of, whatever can happen, whether it's after being incarcerated, maybe something happens, they never even had a trial, right? This is all hearsay, but all their information is blasted, and we're already building these narratives, and it only feeds fear mongering compared to knowing, like, well, what are the actual numbers of maybe 50% of Louisiana youth being suspended at some point? How does that escalate to youth incarceration? So really connecting all these numbers is important, and we're usually only thinking in I feel like reactionary terms.
That's a good point. A very good point. I appreciate that, thinking in reactionary terms. And I just think, when you think of less than 100 youth that are incarcerated at this time in all of the state of Louisiana, and then you
just
put that
girls,
girls, yes, girls,
yeah.
and then you put that against the total number of girls in Louisiana. It really is. You can see how the story that we're being sold and that's being promoted amongst our media is so much overly exaggerated. I'll say all of it is a concern, but it's just overly exaggerated. Let me move back to you, Antonio. Question, and we touched on this a little bit with the charter school system, and your work and your feelings about what needs to be done. But tell us a little bit more about what do you think the role of the school should be as it relates to our young men who are our young youth males, Black males. What's the role of the school, and what do we need to advocate for in terms of changing the system that's in place?
Yeah, I would definitely say any school should look like the community that it's in. So first and foremost, like whatever community you place that, your school should reflect that, right? It shouldn't be, kids shouldn't go to a school where 90% of the staff are people from all over the place, right? Like you gotta have that's just culture. You gotta have people from the same community represented in, those schools. The people need to be able to see themselves. They need to be able to see a reflection of themselves. You got to have a culturally relevant curriculum. Like, you got to have restorative practices. You have to have, school is supposed to be a place where, kids come and they should feel safe and they should feel engaged. And so if you come into the school with practices to treat kids like criminals, then we shouldn't be surprised when we get the results that we get. And so I think any school, especially down here, even though it's not, kids are being bused all over from all types of different communities, I feel like any school should first of all should have people from those communities in those schools. Like, I just feel like that's necessary. I just, more often times than not, the schools I've been in, most folks in those schools, they don't look, like they're not friends with our culture. So
let me ask you real quick, Antonio, that because I really appreciate that, because our church is in the Broadmoor neighborhood, and so we have Andrew Wilson Charter School that's 2 blocks away from our church. In that school, the majority of the students are Hispanic and African American. You see very few white students. I haven't been up there for a while, but if any, really, I just have not seen them. But our area is very multi-ethnic, and so I 100% agree with you. How do we change that? What do we need to do to stop that from happening?
Well, I think the system that we have in place now allows, allow, like I said, I just feel like the community has been, as far as the education system in our current education system in New Orleans, the community has been stripped of its power and its ability to reflect and be authentic in the community. Like, again, you busing kids from all over the place to get in these schools through the One App and stuff like that. And I just think we have to, we have to abolish those systems that are feeding what's going on in our schools right now. We have to continue to fight against that. But yeah, like we have kids who are on a bus for like 2 hours. Like, I literally, like, last week, a kid had a meltdown in school because he thought he was going to be able to go home when his mom came for his IEP meeting. Found out he wasn't going to be able to go home, and had a meltdown in the school. Just flat out fell out because he knew he had to get on that bus. And because he's the first person to get picked up in the morning, that means the last person to get off in the evening. And he knew he was about to be on that bus for 2 hours. So it's just like all these things, like the kids having to be bused all over the city. There's just like so much stuff that just have so many different effects in different places that we have to be aware of.
And that's traumatic, being on the school bus for 2 hours, missing out on the opportunity to be a part of your community, like you stated before, opportunity to be with your parents and in any way at all. Maybe you're hungry riding on that bus. That's all you could think about is, I ain't had nothing to eat since lunchtime. So the One App program needs to either be drastically overhauled or thrown out. You think?
Yeah, from the parents that I talk to, to be honest, the school, like, it's still all of the schools that are well resourced, all the white schools, like, it's still like, it's like nothing really like, so it's still segregated, like nothing's like your kids still, like, if you pick Ben Frank, like the top 3 whatever schools, like they get into, like, it's still like the same stuff, still the same process from what I hear from the parents that I talk to. So, like, I just don't see the point in it.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. I wonder, Hesna, you have anything to say to that effect too?
I don't know if you can hear this dog in the background. My bad. But no, I don't have a strong experience, at least in the New Orleans system, so I don't have too much knowledge to add.
Okay. All right, that's fine. And yeah, maybe we do hear the dog a little bit, but maybe you just want to speak a little bit louder, and maybe that'll help balance it out at least. Let me ask this, Hesna, to you. You mentioned the secret prison facility in Martinsville. What do we need to really be concerned about the most, and what can you tell us more about it? What is the ultimate recourse of action that needs to be taken as we look at this facility and find out more about it? What are you advocating for, and ways in which we can advocate alongside you?
So one thing is that the Office of Juvenile Justice is being investigated by, I believe it's the state auditor, right? So that means that all of these facilities are being investigated for a reason, right? As in how is spending making sense, but also when we see these reports about what's actually going on and what conditions look like, you're seeing holes in the wall, you're seeing beds that don't exist for youth, specifically understanding at ACY that there are no education services at this particular facility. So especially when it comes to New Orleans and having a decentralized system, right, where you're having all these charter schools, there's not really that accountability on who actually has to make sure that each child here is getting an education, right? Because who is the local school board actually accountable to, right? So that comes down to, is it DCFS? Is it the Board of Education? They're in the custody of the Office of Juvenile Justice, but specifically at ACY, like I mentioned, they have a contract with the sheriff's office that's there, right? So it's literally financially beneficial for them to be incarcerating the youth there. And that learning that OJJ was spending $30K a month, right, paying the sheriff's office for incarcerating these youth. And I think it was a number of like somewhere in between 20 to 30, I believe. And this is information that we're getting from news articles. You know, it's not like we're getting like a bulletin of this is coming from the Office of Juvenile Justice. Like it's really having to keep up with what's going on in these different newsrooms around the state. I think the biggest thing, I'm going to drop a link of an example of someone doing a walk through there and talking about some of the conditions, and even hearing like a phone call of a staff member of talking about, or not talking about, on the phone, I think like a 911 call, and being able to hear the youth in the background like screaming, right? Because that's how stressful it is in a place where they've been known to practice solitary confinement on these youth, right? So imagine you're in a cell for 23, 24 hours. There's no educational services there. So this is what we're talking about when we say, you know, we want to be tough on crime. We want to teach them a lesson. And this is actually the reality of the places where you're sending them to. So it's really not giving opportunities when we talk about what rehabilitation is supposed to look like. So that's just one of the places that has a national spotlight right now, but I'll drop a link so you can read more in this article.
All right, thank you for that. That's absolutely very concerning. And I wonder, you know, who can take tours of these facilities that we might catch a glimpse and a better understanding of what's going on.
Yeah, so they had just opened, I believe it was sometime in like mid-February, they just started having in-person visits again due to COVID. And that's something that they didn't have for over a year. So that was really important. But only, oh yes, thanks for dropping the ProPublica article. What was I saying?
Started having in-person visits.
Oh yes, started having in-person visits, and that's just for the legal representation and then like 1 or 2 family members. So one of the major things that our youth have just recently mentioned in our organizing meeting is that we want to be able to go to these places, right? And we also mentioned this at the recent governor's conference, but at least for what's allowable right now, it doesn't seem like it's possible, but usually, or with certain facilities, depending on the management, it's really been kind of up to their discretion. But I think at this point, when you're learning about what's going on there and knowing that it's not financially feasible for the sheriffs to do anything. So it's not going to be up to the police. And a lot of times, even for information, it comes down to like lawsuits and statewide intervention. So it might just come down to, 10 of us are just going to have to pull up and see what happens. Because if no one's going to say, we need to see what's going on, rather than wait for another article, wait for what happened in Tallulah years ago and why that had to be closed, which was a youth being beaten to death. And that's how that jail got closed. What is it going to take for us to say we deserve it? And if our state representatives aren't going to come with us, what are we going to do?
Right. I'm all for that. I'll pull up with you, and I would love to talk to some other officials or whoever about doing the same. These are the lives of our youth that is at stake and being sacrificed. So we need to put together some people even from this call to say, look, we'll do some visits, and we'll be happy to walk alongside you in that. Thank you, Hesna, for that answer. Back to you, Antonio. And I believe this is the final question before I move towards questions from our participants, who I'm sure have lots of questions. Can we just, going back to that theme of being bored and broke, which is what we need to continue to say, say to our community, say to our leaders, and say to our people who put the budget together, all of that. When we think about a wage for our youth, are there sustainable options that the youth have? How can we increase that capacity so that they're not out selling temp tags or washing windows or doing whatever to make money? How do we change that narrative to get some income for our children? Is it job one we have in New Orleans? Is it workforce development? Is it there's another youth program slipping my mind now, but it's pretty national. I'm sure some of you know what I'm talking about, but it's a youth program where they stay there for a while and learn a trade at the same time. What's the answer to this, to youth being broke, that our city of New Orleans needs to approach as a solution? Antonio?
Well, I would say first,
Youth Works, what I was thinking. Youth Works, yeah. I think. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, that is one. No, but I was about to say is what's our minimum wage? Like, like if a young, which happens a lot in high school. If a teenager wanted to, make some money and go work a job, what's the minimum wage? We know the federal minimum wage is still $7.25. So it's $7.25 depending on where you work at if they raise it. But I know from research that you have to make at least $17 an hour to afford a somewhat of a comfortable living in New Orleans by yourself, just your income. And so I say that to say, like again, the opportunities, the workforce development programs, like what are we preparing them for? And is it sustainable? The kids, they like I've had kids who are literally on the verge of, like, they want to just drop out of high school. One, because they feel like the curriculum in place, like we're not taking this, like I'm not gonna apply 90% of this stuff that I'm learning in the school to my outside life. But then on top of that, like my mom is struggling. I really need to make money, like in the jobs that I'm trying to work at, like I'm working these hours, but the paycheck look like this. And so what I would say is they are hungry and they want to do it the way we all want, we want them to do it. It's just, again, like what's presented to them is like, if they jump in the car, they can make about $200, $300 just jumping in the car and going through that process. Or they can go work, get a quick job at McDonald's or something, where they probably making like $10, $11 an hour. And, the taxes get taken out of that, like, and plus they're in school, so they're not working them out. So it's just like, what do we have in place for them? Like, what are we talking about? Like, what are we really doing to ensure that they able to sustain themselves. Most of these kids have to pay their own cell phone bills and stuff. Like, they don't have that luxury, even though they live with their parents, they don't have that luxury to just be a kid. Most of these young folks really have to go out and grind. Like, it's a young man who was suicidal, who he had to keep wearing the same clothes. He lived in a trailer. Like the school had to give him money so we could take him shopping, so we can get him these kids are really out here grinding, and they trying to find a way, and they don't feel supported. And I'm and it's like, what do we have out here for them? Like, I don't even, be honest with you, like Job One, I don't know if Job One made any improvements since the last time I seen what they had going on, but it wasn't, it wasn't sustainable. So like, I'm talking about like real sustainable outcomes. Like these kids really need are really out here grinding. They really need, like, we have to like have solutions specific to our communities. Our community, like, these kids are not kids that live in Lakeview, like these more affluent communities. These kids really half of them are supporting their parents or have to support themselves. 15, 16, like they have to pay their own stuff, buy their own clothes. So, we have to like look at it from that lens. Like, these are not, they're not just trying to, go buy a video game. Like, like it's more stuff. So we just need more sustainable stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I will give a plug for Job One, though. Broadmoor Community Church has been in partnership with Job One for the last 2 years and are doing it again this year, or this will be our second year. And they are offering young people jobs making $16 an hour, some $18 an hour. They did help one of our young men who did not have a steady job and didn't have any certification or college degree, helped him to be able to get his CDL license. Now he's a truck driver making over $20 an hour. And so, I think that they may not have been doing a work that was substantially affecting our communities before, but I think some grant funding that they've gotten from because of COVID, and then some greater grant funding that they got because of Hurricane Ida has helped them to be able to do more. So we'll put a plug in there. But who knows how long that's going to end, and we do last, and so we do need to stay on them about that. And there needs to be more. There needs to be way more than what we're doing now, frankly. And I think that's what you were saying. All right, Antonio and Hester, we're going to move to some questions from our participants tonight. If y'all just be patient, and maybe Cassidy is on by now too, to take some questions. Sylvia, are you on? Co-moderator Sylvia McKenzie.
Sylvia's not coming on tonight. She's at another event.
All right, that's fine. Brooke, would you help take questions in?
Sure. Does anybody have their hand raised right now? Al does. Al Colon.
Good evening, everybody. Al Colon with the functioning microphone this week. Thank you. Happy
All right,
to
all right. Good to see you, Doctor.
And I'm sorry for the technical problems before and throwing everything off for you all. Good evening to everyone. Thank you so much, Brother Antonio and Sister Hessner, for being here and sharing with us what your commitments are, what your work is. I'm so thankful that you are doing what you're doing. It's really vital, critically important work. A number of things that you talked about jumped out at me. Just a few of them include capacity building and coalition building, and the business of community accountability. You spoke, Antonio, about oversight. I'd like to also, not as a corrective to that, but also think in terms of governance. I mean, what mechanisms do we have set up to to govern ourselves and to govern what happens in our communities so that accountability can be achieved. You talk about the absolute need for youth, for opportunities for youth, for survival and for development and for leadership development in particular. So these, it goes without saying for those of us who are on the screen today that these are some very perilous and traumatic times. They're both new and continuing. And what happens at the grassroots in terms of survival is really, really important. And we see what's happening with the assault on our youth. So having said all of that, we know that we're in a long struggle. It's beyond my generation and it's beyond the generations that are coming up now. Goes back centuries, in fact. And one of the problems that we have encountered that have been faced by people across these ages has been something that people have coined generation gap. I heard you mention that phrase too, Antonio. And every struggle, it seems to me from my participation and observation, every struggle has that. And I'm wondering what we can do to address that in some very, very constructive ways. We know that today there are some organizations that are stuck in the rut of what they've been doing because simply they've been doing it for so long. We know that others are branching out, trying to extend their base and create some other possibilities. You know, what you're doing in terms of mentorship and leadership development with young people is really, really, really important. And it brings me, all what I said brings me to the question I have about your vision. As we step into the future together and as we recognize the need to coalesce and to eliminate the silo functioning and to bring people's energies and efforts together, it's really important that we tap the energy and the imagination of youth and and combine that with the seasoned experience of elders and the willingness that they can bring to working with youth and the informing that they can get by young people working with them. And so what do we do to move forward, to build up opportunities? Today is a really good example of one thing I think can be done, because you got these folks, probably all of us on the screen over 50. I don't know, I shouldn't speak, maybe I'm jumping out of my lane, but we see that this clearly is, there is a distinction, a generational distinction here, and we've made the good effort at having you all come in, and I want to see if we can tap that and exploit that, the opportunity that we have now to see what we can do to sustain efforts in continuing the struggle and overcoming the generational gap. So I was wondering what, if anything, you have in mind for pursuing that path, and what can we do particularly for young people to not only, this is so really, really important, to be able to function at the survival level, but to go into the beyond, into developing beyond mere survival, as important as that is. So we got the rehab piece, we have creating new opportunities, we have youth development, and we have the need to connect with old heads, like what Justice and Beyond kind of represents. And so what do you all suggest can be done to enliven and develop this coalition so that we can help young people to know who and what is oppressing us, what we're fighting against, and
Thank you, Brother Al.
how we might go about doing that. Amen. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm trying to make
That's all right. You were on the roll there, so I didn't want to cut you off. But
I'm sorry for taking up too much time.
That's all right. That's all right, my brother. You happy you got your microphone back and able to talk?
Oh,
so.
I'm playing it to the max.
Now,
All right, let me see.
I'm super
Go ahead,
happy.
Antonio.
Question, Brother Allen. And so it's a part about, so in Black Man Rising, we have a ranking up process. We have 3 ranks, right? So it's a rites of passage. So each cohort of young men that come in, they have to go through this rites of passage to reach another rank. The generational gap is so serious to me, because coming up, for the most part, what I heard from my elders was that everything that's wrong with the world was our fault. Mm-hmm. I know the young folks say that too. And to kind of remedy that, what I did was I made elders a vital part of the ranking up process. So what I do is I bring in elders from the community, and they're a part of the ranking up process for the young men. But not only that, in our villages, I think it's extremely important that I did this the lesson on triggers. I needed to have people from different generations come in and not only talk about triggers, but talk about life and talk about what's different. Because most of the times, more times than not, that those intentional conversations are not happening as much as we think they are.
Mhm.
And I know a part of the mentorship program that I created, I knew having elders had to be a part of it because we don't have a village without them. And I know it's essential for the young men to see that, which is why I made it a part of our process in order to rank them up. And I will even take a step further. I put my email address down there. What I'm continuing to do is take elders from the community and have them come sit in our sacred villages and come and just tell a personal story.
Mhm.
Just come and talk. Just like have a proactive conversation about life. I'm telling you, it does wonders. Relationship building is the key to everything. I promise you.
Mhm.
And
All
so
right.
when young folks are able to see themselves in you, it you know, I don't want to take up too much time. I'm gonna let you know,
Yes,
let
sir.
you know.
Yeah, that was a great answer. Appreciate that. Define elders. Where we at there? And I'll have Dr. Cologne know that I am still. I won't be 49 until July, so I'm not over 50 yet. So just want to make that clear. Second of all, so how do we define elder? I know the loose definition, but what age do you begin to be an elder?
I'm gonna be honest with you. To me, it's a difference. It's OGs and then there's elders. OGs means older generation. That just means you hit a certain age and you are OG. We don't pay too much mind to OGs. Elders come with wisdom. You know, you get that name. We call you an elder, we look up to you. Like I think having a certain amount of years on this planet, I can't really put an age on it, but that wisdom is key. For me, that's what we do in Black Men Rising. Our elders are usually people who have like limitless wisdom and experience on this planet and willing to give back, you know. So that's like the requirements for us. You know, I don't know what the age number is though.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know whether I qualify as an elder yet or not. So, let's see. But what y'all heard there, if you want to be included in some of those sacred village circles, the conversation as an elder, Antonio is taking volunteers. So here's your opportunity to get engaged. Hesna, you want to add some input to the Dr. Cologne's question there and the conversation around elders?
Yes. So I think that I understand that intergenerational organizing is important, of course, but the biggest goal of the Hoop Coalition is for it to be youth led. And it's not just any youth, it's youth that have been impacted by incarceration, whether they themselves have been incarcerated, someone close to them, something like that. So it is specific. So in one way, it's thinking about maybe some of the young people you know who they could be interested in this. For some people, they think that, oh, this will set them on the right path or something like that. But I really think it's just an opportunity to connect with other young people and just different things they could be doing, getting into different conversations and understanding what's going on in their community. And one of the biggest things of that one of our young people have said of why they show up in coalition is like thinking about as they grew up here where some of their classmates went, of having close friends and being like, where did they go, and learning that, oh, I learned that they were incarcerated. So something like that to maybe answer some of the questions in their community. But of course, we also have all of our coalition meetings are open, just our organizing meetings are closed, and we have a bunch of different partner organizations that serve youth that have adult partners that participate. So it's definitely open to everyone.
All right. Is there a certain time that these coalition meetings happen?
So we have the coalition meetings once a month. We just recently had one, I think it was last Wednesday or Thursday. So we would have another one in like the next 3 weeks. So I did add our our website link so you could join, at least getting like the newsletter and then being connected to our coalition emails. But since I saw Antonio mention their personal email, I could also drop mine if you all want to connect that way.
Excellent. Thank you for doing that, Hester. I'm sure people want to get engaged. Thank you for that. If you have a question that you just want to write in the chat, that's fine as well too. If you have a question that you want to ask yourself, you can use the reaction button and the button to raise your hand so that we can address you and call upon you. So with that said, Brooke, do you see any more questions anyone has?
Well, there are some. Raymond, do you still want to ask your question about Section 8 housing?
I had my hand raised for a few minutes to pass.
Hold on, Belinda. Yes, okay, Belinda, I'll come to you. I didn't get a response from Raymond yet. Then I'll come to you, Belinda. If that was the order.
Maybe he stepped away.
Okay.
And I have my hand up as well. So.
Okay, all right, let's go to Sister
Yeah.
Belinda real quick.
You can go ahead, Brooke. You
No,
right
go ahead.
Well, I just want to know, do anyone know when the new sheriff takes office?
I know that's in May. I'm not sure what
Okay.
date
Yeah.
he's inaugurated or not.
Okay. All right, that's my question.
Okay.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right. My
If anyone
question
knows,
is,
please put it in the chat if you know. Sorry, go ahead.
that's okay. My question is, as a white woman, which I guess I should disclose, here I am. I'm wondering, it occurred to me when somebody asked a question about getting, access to information. It occurs to me that really there needs to be a white group who just goes about and does busy work for all these great organizations that are doing such incredible work. And I feel as though it is something, we can't be the people in the front. We can't be the people doing your work with the kids and so forth. But some of us old fogies could be looking up things for you, or doing outreach, or, creating databases, or finding information, or whatever. If you just send us a list of stuff to do. I don't know whether other people feel this way, but I feel as to be a good ally to you young people who are doing this incredible work. Your capacity, I know, is stretched thin, and you're trying to do, create a whole new world. And we could be doing some of this stuff for you, just the busy work. So tell us, and, or respond to me, let me know whether I'm on the right track, and then tell me, should I just contact you?
Well, I would say, Brooke, too, for the answer, I would recommend just hearing you, that if people on this call know that they have a certain skill set, that they would use the email addresses that both Hesna and Antonio provided to say, look, I have the skill set, want to offer it to you. I'm ready to work. Please utilize me. But I'll let them answer as well, too. But that's my advice. Antonio, Hesna, what do you say? Antonio, you there?
Oh yeah,
Lose him?
no, it's just like you said, man. Yeah, just email me. We can work. Just email me.
All right, Hesna.
Email is good. Definitely need that support in the coalition.
Great.
Well, I would certainly like to see if it's any type of maybe like a meeting or something that we can, sit down and see where we get in, where we can fit in assisting what Brooke is saying. I think it's a great idea, because and thanks, Brooke, because we need all the help that we can get, especially from other cultures, not just white people, but any other nationality that want to embrace and show forth their involvement. But I want to say this, is it any part in your program where there is specifically you're dealing with the mentally ill, or else trying to, like, we just had this horrific incident where these young boys, with one lady that was drugged to her death. And the first thing we say, well, prosecute these children, and they're probably going to get juvenile life, which is probably about 5 years. But, where does it, my heart really went out to these children, that there are some type of mentally breakdown, and no one really wants to deal with that part, that psychologically these children are really dealing with some serious mental problems. So, and jail is not a place for them. So I'm in regards to taking up for them, because I have 8 children and I know what this feel like. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. So where does mental health come in both of their programs and the work that they do? Do they have that component offered as a resource to healthy living and healing living? Hesna, what about you? How are you incorporating mental health practices?
Honestly, that is a great question. We are still trying to figure it out ourselves in being grounded in this work and understanding that there's so many things going on that aren't just already the populations we serve, the people that are already our members. We're talking about what's going on in the weather. We're talking about the local crime. So there's a lot of different things, and we haven't been grounded in that. But one of the things that I'm focused on is connecting with some healing justice practitioners. So I know that there are people of faith on this call. Also having FLIC members that are pastors, and wanting to connect on how we can incorporate that more into our work, because we've definitely had our heads down since the legislative session has started, still trying to play catch up on data, but we haven't really, I'll say, incorporated many things beyond being open and talking about how we feel at the beginning of end of calls and having check-ins weekly with the youth to specifically focus on what our mental health needs look like. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Hesna. Let me see. Antonio, you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, it's mental health has everything to do with everything that we do. Again, we have to start from, ground zero when we start working with these young men, and even ourselves as we deal with our mental health issues and talk about depression and anxiety and stuff like that, and how it shows up for us every day. I would just give you an example. I have one young brother, ranked 2 mentee in Black Men Rising, and if you tell him something, he liable to go off on you, and immediately we will see that as disrespect. But learning him and relationship building with him, I found out, that he found out, I don't know how, well, his parents told him that he wasn't supposed to be here. He was supposed to be aborted, right? Like he shared his story in our circle and said, listen, my mom was bringing me to the, she was going to abort me, and the only reason why I'm here is because she was too far gone. And learning stuff like that, you see how they carry that stuff with them every day. So he feels like he's not even supposed to be here. And he also feels like he has to be his own best advocate. And so it shows up every day, mentally, emotionally, and everything like that. So mental health has everything to do with what we do, so we can understand why people move the way that they move. So my work grounded in it. We have a licensed social worker on our staff who adds that element to it. But everything we do, we cover everything. Again, our conversations are real raw and unsugarcoated, and very, very deep, I would say. So yeah, mental health, like that's everything to do with everything we're doing.
Antonio, let me ask this. Great, exceptional that you have a licensed social worker on your staff. Do you think that we need to advocate that every organization that's working with youth would be given the resources to have that staff member on staff to assist with the mental health? You think every organization should have that?
If you're out here trying to dismantle the system, you will re-traumatize yourself. If you are organizing families who fighting to keep their lights on, you are receiving secondary trauma from that. So in order to even do this work effectively, you have to have practices or something in place for yourself to make sure that you don't go insane and get burnt out. And so, yes, every organization who's out here trying to do the work needs to have something in place to keep everybody whole, because we all have to give ourselves to the work, which is I'm developing kids to go out like she said in the beginning of the call, like we have young folks, Black Men Rising, we have young folks that sit at that table to shut down prisons. They've been in youth prisons, they're re-traumatizing themselves. So that's the whole point. Like you got to have those, things in place so that we can keep doing the work, or we're gonna burn out and go crazy.
Thank you for that. We got to practice self-care as well too, and self-care for remind each other of self-care. We're all we have, and we need to be able to stay refreshed and restored to do this work, and not only practicing mental health for those who we care for as well too. So let me see any more questions. Brooke, you see anyone? We have time for one more before we have closing remarks. We have anybody else?
Anyone else have a question that they want to raise their hand or make it known? I don't see any more questions.
All right, we'll leave it there because this has been an excellent conversation. I'm grateful for the questions that we did have. Let me ask Hesna, if you will just leave us with anything that you want to leave us with, to call us to action on what needs to be done, and your greatest need, where you see us fitting in. Anything that you want to leave us with before we say until we meet again to you. Hesna, closing remarks.
Well, thank you everyone for listening to our answers today, and our coalition partners that invited me to the call and showed up. Really appreciate being here. I think most of all, it's knowing that no one organization is going to do this. This is only going to come with us coming together, even in the smallest capacity of, making a call to the governor and leaving a message, sending an email, or even showing up to one of our meetings and then getting more involved, right? There's a lot of different ways you can get involved that don't just have to be one-off things. So I think the biggest thing you can do is definitely reach out through email. Just say, hey, I was at this meeting, heard you talk, I'm interested, and we can have a one-to-one. The biggest thing that we're focused on right now is going to Baton Rouge tomorrow for this budget hearing, speaking against the Office of Juvenile Justice getting another budget increase. So one of the numbers is that it costs about $12,000 a year to send a youth through the Louisiana education system, compared to $155,000 a year to incarcerate a youth, right? So those are really big, scary numbers. So imagining giving more numbers, or not giving more numbers, giving more funding to the system compared to investing it somewhere else. That's why we're going there to the budget hearing, to speak out against things like that. So I hope that we can get some support there. For everyone that sends me an email, I'll send you the social toolkit that we actually have prepared for tomorrow. If anyone's online, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, it could be anything. So thank you.
So we appreciate all the work that you're doing. And we just will be praying for you. And more than that, we're going to put feet to prayers, as I'm sure people are desiring to on this call, and continue to support you as Justice of Mian and as the collective that we are, and get engaged more. But thank you so much for taking your time to be with us tonight. We greatly appreciate you sharing with us. Antonio, what are your closing remarks you want to leave us with?
Just I think sometimes when we think about the future, and we fight for these different things, I think sometimes I think some things may seem foreign to people. Like when we talk about taking cops out of school and replacing them with peacekeepers and having real alternatives in place, when we talk about being a restorative, like practicing restorative practices and what that looks like at my school, we don't suspend kids, you put them on restorative hold, right? That's a practice. That means that they go home and do the reflection work. and then they come back to school. And every day that they're not in school, it's excused. Their absences are excused, right? Like that's what it really looked like when you're doing the work. Like you're doing the hard work, you're doing the not just kicking them out and but really doing the real work and understanding that conflict is natural. I think these are things we can start doing today. These are things that's happening right now that we're asking for, and we just need to keep doing it. So I would say that, but I got to put my email in the chat, and if anybody wants to join any of my villages I'm hosting at the high school this week with the young men, you're more than welcome. All you got to do is shoot me an email, and we'll go from there. But I would love to have people from outside the community come into the school and sit down with us and have some in-depth conversations.
Thank you for that, Antonio. And what I was just thinking too, if there are those on this call that would want you to come and speak to their organizations, whether it be churches, whether it be other organizations that are part of the coalition or other places, are you both, you Hesna and you Antonio, open to coming and speaking about your programs and your work to those different organizations or groups?
Yeah, my agent Ernest Johnson, you can reach out to him. He gonna, he take all my calls and emails. He gonna make sure I get all the information I need. But I'm always down. I'm always down.
All right. Appreciate it. I figured you were. Heston, what about you? Maybe she left. Heston, are you there? Did we lose her? She might have went.
Yes, I didn't hear the beginning of your question. Could you repeat it?
I just said if there are organizations or groups, churches, whoever would want you to come and speak personally to their organization or group or church, are you open to doing that?
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay. All right. Very good. Very good. Make sure y'all get our information. Again, thank you both for your time and for more than that, for your work that you're doing. It is so vital to us improving our communities as a whole. Whatever we can do to help you get funding that you need and to stand with you, we're always willing to do that. And we support you 100% in Justice and Beyond. And whatever we can do more to support that and to augment that, then we are here to do that. So thank you so much. Listen, everybody, we're going to close with any closing announcements that anybody has in terms of events that we need to be made aware of so that we can attend those and support anyone in their efforts in those events. So any announcements at this time?
Yes, Pastor Manning, thank you so much. I put it in the chat. I want everyone to, share and attend a town hall meeting that's going to be here on the North Shore with our lead district attorney, Warren Montgomery. And that is in regards to, just bringing the community in to talk about things that we're concerned about as a community that's happening here in the state. He has been recently appointed to a very serious, a very important position in the state of Louisiana by the governor. And I want him to elaborate and, let the community know what that is about. So I put the information there. It's going to be April the 19th at 7 p.m. on an online town hall meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Sister Belinda. Please, everyone, lend their support and participate if you are able to do so. Any other announcements or key events that we need to be made aware of?
One more thing, Pastor, I'm sorry. I also put in there that we're going to be having a electoral campaign school that I put the information in there. People need to go and register for both of those events as soon as possible before they sold out. Thank you.
All right, very good. Any other announcements? I want to thank everybody who submitted public comments to the Utilities Committee on last week in regards to the new ordinance that is going before the full council, was approved unanimously by the Utilities Committee, will be going to the full council in a couple of weeks. That will then make it against the law for any city council member or any candidate for city council to receive any campaign contributions for entities that they regulate or from entities that they regulate, like Entergy or Cox Cable or any other entity that they regulate, that they have to disclose that. And that has to be terminated that relationship so that they are not receiving any campaign contributions or contributions at all from any of those entities. So that we're so glad and just so overjoyed that that's going to the full council and will be voted on. You have an opportunity then to present public comments. We'll make sure that we keep you apprised when that be going to the full city council. So good work, everybody. There were over 50 comments made by way of virtually, and then people showed up in person as well too. So thank you for your participation in that process. We're going to go ahead and conclude.
Great job, Pastor. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It was an effort by the Greater New Orleans Interfaith Climate Coalition that I chair, and also EFNO, Energy Future New Orleans, that is, and also the Alliance for Affordable Energy. The Greater New Orleans Interfaith Climate Coalition made the initial recommendation to the Ethics Review Board, and then then we moved it further. So next we'll go after the mayor's office, and then we'll go after those outside of Orleans Parish too, so that we can protect our people. Let's conclude with a word of prayer. Do I have any volunteers that want to close us in prayer tonight as we begin to close?
I'll volunteer, Pastor.
Thank you, Sister Belinda, please.
Heavenly Father, we are so gracious and so grateful and thankful for such a wonderful forum tonight, Father. I just thank you, Lord, that you would continue to watch over each and every one of us and bless us, Father, as we continue this great work. Again, thank you so much, and we give you all the praise, all the honor, and all the glory to you in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, everybody. Y'all be safe. We'll see you back here on Monday for our upcoming forum, and then we'll continue to talk about when we're going to be together in person. So good night, everybody. Be safe. God bless.